Bugs have terrified people since the dawn of time, and for good reason too. Many mandible havers spread disease, inject folks with venom, and tend to be very unpleasant to look at. Plus, they can creep and crawl their way into many tiny gaps, popping out when you least expect it. The last month has seen a lot of news coverage concerning the Asian giant hornet, also known as the Murder Hornet. As it turns out, they may not be as dangerous as people have been making them out to be. Who would have thought? So today, just to keep everyone on their toes, we're going to take a quick look at some more insects you might be better off watching out for. Hello horror heads, and welcome back to the scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. I'm your horror host Keegan Hughes, and today we're going to be counting down the top 5 insects more dangerous than murder hornets, part 2. Before we begin, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more bitter bugs. Outrageous, let's get going. Coming in at number 5, we've got the toe biter. See, with bees and wasps, you at least see them coming. You'll notice a couple flying around and maybe hear their wings buzzing, and something inside you will say, stay away. The bright yellow coloration on most helps too. But the toe biter? You'll never see it coming. And if you did, you'll wish you hadn't. This giant water bug is ugly as sin and quite frankly takes on the appearance of a living nightmare. It's the largest member of the Hemiptera family of freshwater insects, growing up to 4 inches. A big bug lad. To make them even less attractive, males tend to carry eggs on their backs, giving it a lovely pimply look. Just look at them. See, but the looks of something doesn't necessarily correlate with the level of danger it provides. Just look at Lucy. But once you hear about how deadly these things can be, you'll think twice about going barefoot in the water. Toe biters live in streams and can deliver very painful bites. To humans, these bites aren't very dangerous, but cause a lot of pain that can last for several hours. If you think about it, murder hornets aren't actually that dangerous to humans overall. The murder nickname likely comes from how they massacre squads of honeybees. But toe biters take down much bigger prey than that. Although their diet consists of mostly small fish and invertebrates, toe biters have also been seen eating baby snakes, turtles, and frogs. That is some big game hunting, my goodness. They inject their prey with saliva that breaks down the insides, and then they slurp it all up. Less likely to fly right at you and more likely to murder animals twice its size. Toe biters are no joke. Coming in at number 4, we've got the Tarantula Hawk. Again, if we compare prey, the Tarantula Hawk is much more impressive than the Asian giant hornet. It's in the name, tarantula. The fearsome wasps love to dine on the world's favorite hairy venomous spider. Yikes. They'll paralyze the gigantic spider and carry it back to their nest. There they will lay an egg on the still living creature and wait for it to hatch. Once the larva pops out, it will eat the stunned spider alive. Yum yum. If a person were to get stung by a tarantula hawk, it would likely be some of the most intense pain they ever experience. If the sting needs to totally immobilize a tarantula for long enough for a larva to hatch and then chow down, it's gotta be some powerful stuff. Justin Schmidt, sting expert extraordinaire, ranks it the highest on his proprietary sting pain index. The giant spider eater scores a 4 out of 4, likening comparisons to the sensation of dropping commercial-grade electric equipment into your bubble bath. It might not deep fry you in the same way, but it'll sure feel like it. Don't be fooled by their stunning coloration. These blue-black bodied, rust-winged beauties are a force to be reckoned with. In fact, people who are stung by tarantula wasps often end up injured in ways other than the sting. It's so painful that victims find it difficult to perform seemingly simple tasks like walking in a straight line. Coordination out the window, so Schmidt actually recommends that you just lie down and scream for a while. Duly noted. Coming in at number 3, we've got the tsetse fly. So you probably know how a mosquito will use its needle-like proboscis to get under your skin, right? That'll seem like a refined and sophisticated method of blood-sucking after you meet the tsetse fly. These fluid chuggers have saw-like serrations in their mouths, which they use to dig into your skin. If you're looking for a miniature horror movie style torture, then look no further. Sure, they don't actually hurt too much, but just the idea of tiny saws tearing away at your flesh is enough to keep me up at night. And the bite is just the beginning too. Tsetse flies are well known as disease spreaders. Ever since their introduction to southern and eastern Africa in the late 19th century, they've been spreading sleeping sickness to animals and trypanosomiasis to animals. In fact, it's become such an issue that much of the land that tsetse flies can be found on is largely uninhabited these days. What used to be farmland is now wild and natural, as people and animals can't effectively be raised there. Symptoms of sleeping sickness appear soon after being bit and include painful lumps near the bite, high fever, head and muscle aches, and rashes. Over time, neurological symptoms develop, like sleep disturbances, poor coordination, confusion, changes in behavior, and even complications in one's organs. If left untreated, it's usually fatal. Plus, there's no vaccine or medication that protects against it. So yeah, sawtoothed, bee-shaped, disease-spreading flies that want nothing more than to suck the blood of you and your livestock. you better wear some long sleeve shirts. Creeping in at number 2, we've got ticks. Another disease spreader. This one's a little closer to home. For me anyways. And while they're technically arachnids, we're going to include them using their more commonly referred to title, bugs. External parasites, ticks love to feed on the blood of all sorts of creatures, from mammals to birds to reptiles to amphibians. Most of the bugs we've discussed today have bites that you'll notice pretty quickly. Ticks are a little more stealthy when they latch on. They love to wait for prey to come to them, waiting in grass or on branches for a hapless blood container to pass by. Once a suitable victim's in range, they'll extend their little hooked limbs and latch on to whatever they can grab, be it hair, fur, or clothing. Then they'll make their way into some skin where they can begin feeding. Often they'll crawl to higher areas of the body, as this is where skin is usually thinner and a lot of animals have trouble reaching. As they suck blood, ticks also transmit all sorts of infections caused by bacteria, viruses, and more. These can be extremely detrimental to humans and animals. Most famously, ticks can transmit Lyme disease. In early stages, this disease causes rashes, stiffness, aches, and pains. Later on, if left untreated, Lyme disease can cause severe joint pain or even neurological problems like brain inflammation or paralysis. Speaking of paralysis, some ticks can even inject a neurotoxin produced in their salivary glands that can cause full body paralysis, respiratory failure, and even death. Most folks don't notice they've got a tick on them until it's too late. Now, I've talked about just a couple of tick-related illnesses, but there are plenty more fevers and viruses that they do spread. Plus, if you're really unlucky, you might just develop a red meat allergy thanks to a tick bite. No more burgers or steaks? No thanks, man. And finally, at number 1, we've got the executioner wasp. If you take a look at Schmidt's pain index, you'll see a few insects at the very top. Bullet ants, warrior wasps, and the tarantula hawks I mentioned earlier all make the grade. However, Schmidt has yet to rate a few key stinging insects, one of which will top our list today. If you follow Coyote Peterson's stinging escapades, you'll know that the executioner wasp is in a whole other category, the king of sting, if you will. Not only does the executioner wasp also love to behead its prey, but its sting is so potent that Mr. Peterson felt it for a week, with it actually getting worse over time. And while most stings swell without causing any lasting damage, this particular wasp might leave behind a hell of an impression. The venom from the executioner wasp's sting actually burned a hole into Coyote's arm, leaving a permanent scar. So if you're into the sensation of getting the skin on your arm peeled away, go right ahead. Take the plunge and get a wasp-style tattoo on your flesh. If not, maybe stay as far away from the executioner wasp as possible. Central and South Americans, keep an eye out for a papery nest on a low-hanging branch. Ouch. There are a lot of bugs out there that I really hope I never have to deal with. Mosquitoes and black flies are about all I'm able to handle at this point. Maybe a spider or two to eat the rest of them. What'd you think of the list? Did your nightmare bug make it? How many of these did you already know about? Are there any insects you'd like to hear about in the future? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more harmonious ones from the top 5 scary locked boxes that should have never been opened. Jexer says, one box that should have never been opened, the Jack in the Box, the original jump scare and clown of nightmares. At first I thought you were talking about the burger chain and I was worried, but yeah, nobody needs any more Pop Goes the Weasel in their life. Brian Baker says the scariest box that I've encountered and regretted was the $5 box from Taco Bell. It haunted me for days. What did you think did the most damage? The tacos? The dessert? Don't tell me it was the Baja Blast. Lee Cull says it's The Possession. Possession is a very different movie. Oh shoot, did I say Possession? Yeah, because they're very different and Possession is much better. The milk scene stayed with me for a very long time after watching. Faye says, to be honest, if I would find a random box, I would probably open it. Maybe there's a cat inside, or maybe not. Only one way to find out. Jin Jam says, what, no mimic? That's the ultimate box monster. Just one of those at the beginning of a dungeon will strike terror into any D&D group. That's actually a good one, but how many mimics are actually locked? And that's all the time we have for today. Before I enter a water drinking contest for a Nintendo Wii, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more malicious malfeasance. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. But once you hear about how deadly these things can be, you can think twice. I'm about to sneeze. Woo. Justin Schmidt, Sting expert extraordinaire, ranks it the highest on his... Coming in at number... That's a number. This particular wasp might... Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more harmonious ones from the top 5 scary locked boxes that should never be... Let's take a look. Faye says, to be honest, that's not what Faye said.